Wandering through my favorite park, I couldn't help but admire the wide swaths of super tall, lovely pink flowers. And then I noticed that they were increasingly everywhere I looked. And then I noticed some park crews cutting down the huge flower stalks and hauling them away to be burned. That's because this is one of the most aggressively spreading invasive plants in the world, Himalayan Balsam. As the name suggests, Himalayan balsam spread throughout the northern hemisphere over the last century from the Himalayan mountains. Today, it can be found throughout the US, Canada, British Isles, and Eurasia. It's easily identifiable by its slightly serrated, slender dark green leaves edged in red, in a whorl pattern around a hollow, red jointed bamboo-y or knotweed-like stem, topped with an appley, fragrant, policeman's helmet-shaped pink or purple flower. It's often quite tall, again, up to about 7 feet. Yes, it's lovely, and walking through a field of flowers is like wandering through an apple orchard. The smell is just amazing. But the himball, as I will now call it, is no innocent flower. It spreads via seed packets that literally explode at the smallest of nudges and disperse seeds in every direction, up to 10 meters. It grows super fast, like bamboo, and it chokes out many native species around it, including, around here, the super aggressive Himalayan blackberries we have, which generally choke everything else out. Because of its tendency to grow in moist soils along riverbanks and then die out over winter, himball also unfortunately encourages soil erosion along riverbeds. These are all reasons why the parks have been trying to get this plant under control, aka get rid of it. Here's a plant that looks kind of similar to himball, red osier dogwood. It does have the red stem, but notice that the leaves are smooth, not serrated, and the stem isn't all bamboo-y jointy like himball. The stem is also solid and woody, while himball is light and hollow. Left alone, a dogwood will grow into a shrub and eventually a tree, while himball is a standalone flower. But the big difference here is in the flowers. Dogwood flowers are small, kind of reminiscent of broccoli, yellowy white and cute, not at all dramatic like himball. Red osier dogwood and its white berries do have storied medicinal uses, but we'll get into that another time. I generally don't forage for flowers, even if they're plentiful, because I like to leave abundant food sources for bees and other pollinators. But this is one big exception, especially since I got word that these flowers were next on the chopping block. If you find it, feel free to forage with impunity. One big tip though, when picking the flowers, as I do by the handful, be sure to gently shake the whole bit before picking, as the hollow, nectar-rich flowers are an absolute favorite of bees. Be sure to give them a good chance to escape before putting the handful in your bag. This plant has been favored in northern Indian cooking for centuries. Though not much nutritional or medicinal information is available, it has been reported that ingesting the himball flowers has a calming effect on the nerves and muscles. The flowers and seed pods, as well as the seeds, are edible raw, and the stem can be cut and used as a straw. Though the leaves and the stems are both slightly toxic as they contain a high concentration of calcium oxalate, this is broken down by cooking. Since I picked about 10 pounds of flowers and seed pods, I wanted to use the plant in as many ways as possible over the last few weeks. But building on the flavor of the appley nectar, I made a really refreshing himball and Oregon grape iced tea. Then, after finding a huge crabapple tree just jammed with fruit, and another Pacific crabapple tree, I made an awesome applesauce with himball, apples, and honey. Another idea would be to make a really simple jam with himball flowers and maybe throw in a few apples or blackberries for texture. Finally, I found some fireweed, aka great willow herb, another beautiful and plentiful pink flower native to northern hemisphere. I've always wanted to try adding flowers to a truly savory dish, my take on a classic puttanesca. Since fireweed can be quite bitter, and himball sweet and nectary, I let the two balance each other out in a sea of garlic, capers, onions, peppers, and tomatoes. The result was too delicious to even describe properly. One of my most favorite foraged meals ever. After filling a few freezer bags with flowers, seed pods, and stems, I'm certainly going to keep experimenting with this plant. I've got my eye on a spicy himball stem curry, and will definitely be pickling some of the stems. As for the others, I'll be adding them to soups over the coming winter. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I encourage you to go out and find some himball for yourself. We'll see you next week for our next plant. In the meantime, happy foraging.